I'm big.
I'm Surly, and oh boy, is this one going to be a tight one. Well, not tight, argumentative one.
Could be. My mustache is asymmetrical.
Hmm. Might just be your camera. Could be your face.
No, I'm pretty sure it's my face.
Anyway, so yeah, today Ukraine, because what else is there to talk about? I mean,
According to
really,
the mainstream media, nothing.
seriously, right? I mean, okay, this Ukraine thing was avoidable, but in a lot of ways, it really has helped outline the hypocrisy of mainstream media, like how much screen time is being given to this versus ongoing genocides in places like Palestine or in places like Yemen, which are being destroyed by our allies.
Well, it's nigh on illegal in the United States to report on Palestine.
That's insane.
Uh-huh. But there are anti-Semitism rules and laws.
Yeah, but it's not anti-Semitism to call
That's
out a country
certainly
for
Israel
apartheid.
equates it to anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I know
If
they
you
do.
say Israel does anything bad, you're being anti-Semitic because Israel is the Jewish state.
Yeah, that doesn't parse to me.
Well, I think this is a good opportunity to speak to the fact that I certainly am going to say some fucking things about Russia being a dirtbag country, to use like Trump's language, but I don't mean the Russian people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
although in Korea, I did like Russian sailors would get up to no good, but I think that's more a
everybody
sailor
got up
thing
to
than
no
a,
good.
that's true too. That's true too.
Yeah,
There was
I
a lot of
mean,
booze, and booze makes people act silly.
yeah,
Um,
and there was a
and sometimes
whole.
like violent psychopaths. Um, but
I actually saw more
when
fights
we're
among the
speaking about
teachers.
this stuff, we're talking about the Russian government or the Ukrainian government or the United States government.
Hmm.
We're not talking about the American people, the Russian people, the Ukrainian people. We're talking about the elites that control those people's lives.
To a degree, see, and while I do agree with you, I really, as a social justice activist, really think that people tolerate this. Like Canada has done some nefarious shit. And there's a lot of people who are ignorant, and a lot of people who, even when they know, will be like, this is worse over there, this is worse over there. So, I mean, since I've come home to Canada from overseas, I've very rarely let myself, anytime it's like, I don't give a fuck what's going on over there. Let's deal with what's going on here first. Then, when we got the moral high ground, maybe we can actually talk to people over there about what the fuck they're getting up to, right?
Sure. And I guess I don't necessarily agree for there to be a need for a moral high ground.
I when you're knee deep in blood, it's hard to criticize someone whose hands are getting a little red.
But that is not what we're looking at here.
It really is.
You're literally talking about a country knee deep in blood looking at a country waist deep in blood.
No, no, really it isn't. That's the number of foreigners killed by the US and its military aventurism since 2000 when the war on
When the
terror.
Cold War ended.
No, since the war on terror has
Okay.
been, the kill count has been several million, with over, I think, 60 to 80 million refugees created.
And your argument is Russia hasn't been up to that business. So,
No, I'm saying that the moral high ground is ridiculous. To see America pontificating the shit that it's trying to get up to and have the Western media do that shit, it's just it looks like bad theater.
Yeah,
And
it's wagging the dog. It's
just to get
propaganda.
just to get things in perspective here, we are discussing Ukraine today and the media circus that has in many ways led up to this invasion. Um, I mean, Ukraine was avoidable. And Ukraine looks like another Georgia and a Ukraine of 2014, where it looked to be a limited military engagement that's probably not going to last more than a few months. He doesn't have the military nor the allies to do anything else.
Who doesn't? Putin?
Putin.
Well, he's literally said that he wants Ukraine to be like a demilitarized zone between himself and NATO.
Yeah. And get to be honest with you, if Canada was not an ally of NATO, like given the history between the US and Russia, the stuff that what America has gotten up to, what NATO has gotten up to on behalf of American imperialism, it's hard to blame them, honestly. I mean, like America has invaded dozens of countries since, or bombed and done nefarious shit in dozens of countries since
See,
World
I
War
don't
II.
see how it's hard to blame them. Either imperialism is wrong or it's not wrong.
Wanting a buffer between you and an imperialist entity is understandable. He doesn't have imperialist agendas. He wants no military
Taking
buildup
over
on
other
his border.
countries is an imperialist?
Invading and taking care of a new military threat on your border, a limited it depends. See,
Pretty
the idea is
imperialist.
no, imperialist is when you go in and set up your own governments and stuff, which is what
Like they
America.
did in Belarus.
They didn't do that in Belarus.
Yeah, the Belarusian government pretty much does whatever Putin tells them to.
Yeah, the fact that it's that, but
So did
yeah,
the Ukrainian government. That's one of the
until
reasons they're pissed off about Ukraine.
until Americans funded neo-Nazis to overthrow the government in Ukraine in 2014, leading up to the annexation of Crimea.
I don't think it was just neo Nazis. It just so happened there were neo
Oh, it
Nazis.
was a lot of neo-Nazis, and since then the Azov battalion, which is a traditionally neo-Nazi battalion in Ukraine, has become part of the legitimate military. Like neo-Nazi behavior, the beating of people who are of different thoughts or colors or sexualities in Ukraine has become increasingly common since
Kind of like it is in
2014.
Russia.
I don't know what it's like in Russia. I've read the reports on this
Ask Pussy
one,
Riot what's it like in
and
Russia.
they're what the the thing is like you're saying it's bad there, but I mean due to our interference it's gotten increasingly bad in Ukraine. And I mean then there was the fact that there was 2008, like since 2007, after Putin started getting demonized by America for apparently no reason, and a number of treaties were broken by America and whatnot, he
I
actually
think
did
part of it was him having
see
murdered
drawing a line
journalists.
drawing a line in the sand against imperialists and then enforcing that is not imperialism. And this is what the point I'm trying to make is that America has literally invaded most of the world culturally or militarily.
Including Russia.
No, Russia right now is a capitalist place run by billionaires like fucking America,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
So I mean, the thing about this is though is that
This is just a game of oligarchs.
that's what wars are.
Poor people going to fight for rich people.
Right. And the thing is this was very avoidable. And the thing is American provocation Biden needed something to get people's fucking minds off of COVID, the bill failure of the Build Back Better bill, like going into an election year. And he,
Inflation,
yep,
supposed inflation, which isn't even really
worst,
inflation.
I think
It's
worst polling
fucking
of a
corporate
president in
greed.
history.
No,
So I'm,
Trump's was worse.
nope, I looked this up.
Really, I
One of
thought
the
Trump got down to
one of
35%
the things
approval
I
rating.
sent you for this episode was on polling. It shows Biden under everybody.
Mm, he's not great.
So, I mean, I think this Wag the Dog episode provoked somebody who, in 2007, very clearly stated his issues and drew lines in the sand. Lines that he enforced in 2008 in Georgia and lines that he enforced in 2014 in Ukraine. And I mean, with the escalating anti-Russian sentiment since Trump took office, and then to drop Biden in and suddenly like the warmongering goes through the roof from mainstream media. I this is like it's like you back something rat into a corner. That's when the rat is the most
Mm,
dangerous.
I guess I see it more as the US being a bully to a bully.
I see it as the US just always being a bully. But
Yeah,
there
but
are
so's Russia.
Russia's being a bully to nobody until it got fucking backed into a corner.
They're killing civilians in Ukraine.
137 people have died, and those are including some civilians, but there is no attempt to execute civilians. I mean, this is not like American fucking
Not like they did back in the Soviet era where they literally starved the population.
Well, they might do that. I don't know yet. We'll see how things unfold, and I hope that he doesn't end up being as barbaric as the Americans do when they invade places.
War's just a bad deal across the board.
American is like America and Canada have war criminals they both need to deal with from Afghanistan and from Iraq.
Yeah.
Like the fact is we have like zero moral high ground to be calling this bullshit out, especially after literally tightening the screws on this guy for the last few months.
We have to, though. We have treaties and like
There's no
legal obligations.
what need was there for Biden to literally like what need was there for the months of literally fevered warmongering coming out of the U.S. press? I
It
mean,
was
that's not fucking
they claim it
diplomacy.
was an attempt to talk Putin out of military adventurism.
You mean the government that's owned by the military industrial complex was trying to stop a war that while
War
successfully
that doesn't make
sounding
them
like
any money.
they makes them tons of money. You don't your government isn't you're not in a democracy any more than I am. Where our fucking governments are owned by billionaires.
Yeah.
I mean, America's biggest industry is military manufacturing. So is Canada's is huge as well. War benefits. Excuse me. Like we literally like ours the shit we pull across the world on your heels has been extraordinary. Like the fact that we were, yeah, America successfully bogged down NATO in Afghanistan for like close to 20 years. And this like literally put in puppet regimes in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Well, NATO went into Afghanistan because it's a defensive alliance, and the U.S. was considered to be attacked by the Taliban.
Yeah, that's a pile of fucking horse shit.
Well, that's what
Taliban,
actually happened,
you invaded Afghanistan to go after Al Qaeda.
which was being sheltered by the Taliban.
And Pakistan, not Taliban. It was actually they were in the Pakistani hills that bordered on Afghanistan. But you guys were not fucking invading Pakistan, were you?
Pakistan has nukes.
Yeah. And you guys only fucking pick on people who you think you can beat up.
There's that, and there's also the fact that we have ties with Pakistan.
Yeah, so you invaded Afghanistan on flimsy fucking excuses. See, a defensive
Well, the
act
government
is
had
not
no choice but to
supposed.
act.
That's horseshit.
It
That was a
that's
war of aggression.
realpolitik.
That's wars of aggression that we're trying to that the
Are
your
you
that
conflating Iraq and Afghanistan as the same thing? Because
I'm
Iraq was a war of aggression.
both of them were wars of aggression. The fuck do you? America has no place in Afghanistan, nor did it have any place in Libya, nor did it have any place in Somalia. I mean, fucking, like, this is ridiculous. The fact that we're trying to get at, like, there is no moral high ground. Like I said, neck deep in blood while this guy's got a little bit of red stained around his fingertips at this point.
I
Like,
don't
neck
think that's a
fucking deep.
fair comparison.
Millions dead since 2000.
Yeah, the American government's a fucking mess. The
Tens
Russian
of
government is a
millions
fucking mess.
displaced.
One of the differences, we don't have a de facto dictator, though. We almost did.
Oh, you guys are owned. It doesn't matter who you vote for. They're owned by the same corporations. The appearance of choice.
I did read an interesting article recently about how warmongering is more effectively done by the Democrats
Yep.
because the Democrats are above warmongering. And so it is easier for Democrats to make warmongering arguments
Again, why I
because,
preferred to see Trump in America rather than Hillary. Hillary would have started World War III. Fucking Biden, not even 3 years in office, already looks like he's done it.
well, you would say he'd done it if we had troops in Ukraine. Putin's not going to invade Poland.
Putin, of course, he's not invading. This is what I'm saying. He's probably doing a limited military thing to demilitarize the Ukraine and pull out like he did to Georgia.
Still
That's
not
not,
okay.
yeah, but it's not fucking imperialism. It's protecting his
Crimea
border.
was.
Crimea's kind of is, but it's also like there is a pretty heavy Russian population there that from what I understand, the neo-Nazis were actually slaughtering Russian civilians and burning people alive at the point where he had to step in.
I don't know.
It's complicated, but my understanding is Russian citizens were in danger, and the reports were that the neo-Nazis that the Americans armed and helped use to overthrow their government were going on killing sprees.
Nazis do that.
Yep. And I mean, we've got like the other thing is like Serbia. Like Serbia in 1999 was getting bombed by NATO to bring about change. Like that's the last. Like the thing is war. This whole idea that this is the worst thing since World War II is like extraordinarily hyperbolic and dangerous talk. Like this is a guy like the dangerous fucking talk. He's not doing what Hitler did. Like, let's be honest here. He's doing a tiny bit of what Americans and their allies, including Canada, do regularly. And fuck them for doing it, but it's small. And it's a lot smaller than it's being made out to be.
So the takeaway here is Josh is a Russian apologist.
No, I am an anti-war activist for fucking decades, and I'm sick of being lied to into wars. And this was a very avoidable situation. There is a very, like, an explanation from an American diplomat that will be posting with this from Consortium News that really goes into the history of this. And I mean, the lead up to this in some ways can be traced to the unification of Germany and in other ways can be traced to around the period of 2003, 2007, when America started calling out Putin as a person rather than Russia as a national identity. And this is really interesting in geopolitics because usually can you like talking badly about the leaders of other countries is incredibly unusual except in very specific situations. Like you don't hear leaders talking about the leader of China, Xi Jinping, or whatever the fuck his name is. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but whatever.
Xi Jinping or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't, he's a dog, he's crafty, he's this, he's that. You don't hear that shit. But I mean, this steady escalation of words and military buildup around Russia has been an ongoing problem since 2007, and this was very foreseeable. And America's warmongering has led the way through all of this yet again. Like Biden didn't say the shit he was saying. We could have agreed to neutral countries. America is an imperialist nation. Russia's asking for a fucking border, a demilitarized zone between the American Empire and Russia. I mean, that's fair, isn't it?
No, because
So,
it's not the American Empire, because you're conflating NATO with being the American Empire.
dude, it's a tool of the American Empire. In the same
It
way that
has been used that way. Do
right,
you
and
think, I don't think NATO would do what it did in Afghanistan if it happened again.
it's being so it's control. I would say it would. I think it very, very, very easily would. I mean, it was only like a couple years ago that Canada was like fucking cheerleading an illegal coup down in the south by neo-Nazis. What was the name of that country again? The leader ended up fleeing. The neo-Nazi was a woman, and then she ended up the country Bolivia, I think it was. But yeah, like Canada, like indirectly interfering with democracies is still ongoing. Like France's military fucking adventurism is pretty well documented, as is the UK's. I mean, the European nations are still engaged in neocolonialism to this day. I mean, the only reason we're hearing about this is because it's fucking Russia who invaded. If it had been anyone else, it would have been a media blackout.
Well, that and Biden thought it would help his numbers.
Yeah, well, that was pretty fucking dumb of him, wasn't it?
Doesn't seem to be doing it, no.
No, he has now put himself in a position where he is going to have to probably give in to the call for airstrikes on Russia or look weak. And that's when shit gets fun.
Yeah.
Biden fucking warhawked himself into fucking World War III fucking territory. The dumb, senile idiot. You could have had Bernie. Fuck y'all.
That's true. That is true.
I'm
Well,
hoping-
folks, what do you think? Respond in the chat. Let us know. Are
Yeah.
we full of shit? Are we paragons of lefty political analysis or something in between?
I'm just anti-fucking war. I'm so sick and tired of media telling me who to hate and fucking companies making off like fucking bandits.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to keep a saucy discussion going when I don't disagree. I mean, we live in an oligarchy.
Yeah. And but like compared to us,
Get
what
rid of the
Russia,
billionaires, make life better for everyone.
man, compared to us, Russia's done nothing so far. And I cannot get on that fucking high horse with everybody else because of that. Like until we stop our own countries from being worse than Russia, we do not have a fucking leg to stand on.
I don't know, man. I was, like I said earlier, I was a bully in high school. Now, as an adult, I look back and say, well, I was still a bully. But at the same time, I literally was slapping down people that were harassing someone who didn't have the power to protect themselves. And that
And
felt like a moral act at the time. I'm still conflicted. There was a
American,
gay kid that used to get so much crap,
yeah,
and I just
America's
wouldn't let it happen.
soil, America's soil. America needs to stay the fuck in America. Canada
I would
needs
be
to stay
fine
the
with
fuck
that.
in Canada. NATO needs to mind its own god. NATO is a Cold War relic that needs to be disbanded. If we need to band together for military purposes, we should be making communal fucking militaries, but NATO is not a good one. And frankly, Russia has been proven to be fairly weak and incapable of actually completing its military objectives in time. So it really isn't the military powerhouse that it is portraying. I mean, nobody compares to American military. Like the next closest competitor to American spending is like less than half, isn't it? And that's maybe China. So, I mean, this little show of force by Russia has both demonstrated that it is not as effective as the American military was in Iraq in 2003. So, the show of force is actually not that impressive. And I suspect it's going to be like Georgia. They're going to get in, they're going to make their point, they're going to get out. They're giving themselves a DMZ from American military expansion. It's I really wish they weren't fucking killing people. I really wish they hadn't been pushed to this, but like from a like thinking defensively, thinking as like a military leader would have to after being shit talked the way this guy's been for a couple decades by America and the last 4 years, especially under Trump, I would want that
He
buffer.
wasn't shit talked under Trump. Trump loved him.
No, American media.
Okay.
Like the hate mongering that led up the 4 years before these last few months of serious like aggression by fucking Biden and the establishment through the media and press. Man, it's a matter. I mean, like he, he's not a caricature. He's a 70-year-old man who is looking at the end of his life. I mean, try like fucking give him that little border, like no military buildup in Ukraine or fucking Georgia. That's not much to give that such a small country as Russia. It's not even a big economy. Like this is the thing that Russia is not the USSR. They're not that big a deal.
Yeah, but the counter argument to that is that Russia doesn't get to dictate for the Ukrainian people what they get to do.
If the Americans had not helped neo-Nazis overthrow the Ukrainian government in 2014, I'd give that argument some credence. Sorry, I mean, Canadian embassies gave shelter to these neo-Nazis during that period of revolution and violence. That's like that's a coup. So I mean, it just that if that but for that maybe sure, but I mean the Ukrainians were not never given the opportunity of self-determination. I mean, it's not like we live in countries that respect other countries' right to self-determination unless their economic theories align with our own, and then we exploit the shit out of them and their people live in poverty.
just like we do.
Well, yeah, people, there's lots of poor people now that capitalism ran out of other people to prey on. It's got to prey on itself.
Mm,
I mean, the wealth that we experienced trickling down from their predatory expansion and globalization only needed to last as long until they fucking secured what they thought were indomitable footholds. Anyway, no, it's as much as I dislike war, if we want this to end, the saber rattling needs to calm the fuck down.
Biden is wagging the dog hard.
He has already lost 2022 and now he is willing to kill millions to try to save it. He should not be allowed to succeed.
We shall see.
Well, it's worth stopping World War III over. You've been big. I've been
I
surly.
have been big. He has been surly.
Have a good one, boys.
Yeah. Let's not have World War III.
Yeah, say no to
That
World
would be
War
awesome.
III.
Let's avoid that. Bye.